Chapter 1. What is imposter syndrome? Envision a young adult in their early 20s having recently secured a highly sought-after position in a rigorous postgraduate course of study. Initially, they exhibit exceptional qualities such as intelligence, motivation, and fervor. However, shortly thereafter, doubts arise, leading them to wonder if their selection into the program was merely a stroke of improbable luck. Students compare themselves to their peers, experiencing self-doubt as they wonder if the university's decision to admit them was an error. These individuals believe others in their situation are thriving effortlessly, whereas they struggle with feeling like an imposter. They harbour the notion that they're not truly deserving of being among their peers and fear exposure as a fake at any moment. Despite their accomplishments, they secretly doubt their own worthiness, thinking it's only a matter of time before others discover their perceived inadequacy. As a result of these feelings, the student is increasingly prone to putting things off, missing classes, and downplaying their accomplishments. You may be familiar with the sense of inadequacy or self-doubt, often referred to as imposter syndrome. This phenomenon, if left unchecked, has the potential to hinder one's ability to take initiative or make progress towards goals. If an individual harbours the self-doubt that their perceived successes might actually be indicators of prior failure, they may be hesitant to take risks or pursue accomplishments, fearing these efforts will only serve as further proof of their inadequacy in others' eyes. By being hesitant to take risks, you consistently put off moments of evaluation or observation and adamantly shy away from confrontations with challenges or rivals. The perceived sense of inadequacy or fraudulent feelings you experience actually don't reflect reality. It's a misconception that can be overcome. It's a misleading notion that can be detrimental since it might lead you to abstain from positive endeavors, ultimately transforming into a reality through inaction as the expectation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not difficult to see how. The individual in question, having delayed and sidestepped challenging tasks for an extended period, ultimately experiences a decline in their abilities compared to peers who possess confidence in their capabilities, resulting in a lower performance within the program. Imposter syndrome stems from a skewed mental perspective, where one consistently misperceives their abilities and achievements as inadequate despite evidence to the contrary, fostering a deep-seated sense of inadequacy. Perceived shortcomings are often overstated, while accomplishments are either downplayed or reinterpreted to reinforce a sense of inadequacy. This mindset can lead individuals to minimize their achievements and overemphasize their mistakes. Obstacles like inner criticism, delaying tasks, striving for flawlessness, and intense anxiety about not succeeding can greatly hinder the ability to execute the crucial step necessary for progress. Taking decisive action. One effective approach in combating imposter syndrome and prompting meaningful action is the character alarms method. This technique stands out among various suggestions offered to overcome imposter feelings. Eric Partaker, a seasoned executive coach, is the creator of the innovative method in question. The concept revolves around developing a persona which serves as a stand-in for yourself in the creative process. This character takes on a life of its own, enabling the individual to express themselves and bring their imagination to life through the actions and experiences of this proxy figure. When you take on a character's perspective, effectively pretending to be that person, you can sidestep the constraints of your own self-doubts and confidently move past feelings of inadequacy, such as imposter syndrome. Recognizing yourself as an imposter can be seen as a form of self-identification, albeit with an untrustworthy and unworthy version of oneself. The character perspective technique combats this natural inclination towards self-centeredness by providing a means to perceive the world from another individual's viewpoint, untainted by personal biases and assumptions. It might initially appear trite to suggest a simple transformation, yet the reality is that subtly shifting your mindset or habits can have a significant impact.
You may find yourself unexpectedly empowered by this seemingly straightforward change.
Schedule reminders on your phone to activate and boost your self-confidence at specific moments throughout the day, as if it were a personal motivational assistant. Consider establishing various alarms tailored to distinct aspects of your existence and the outcomes you seek. This way, you can personalize reminders for each aspect of your life, such as personal growth, career, relationships, or well-being, ensuring timely motivation and focus on achieving specific goals. For instance, imagine you schedule a reminder for 9:30 AMA, anticipating that you'll need to be on time for a crucial conference at your workplace. As a prompt, I'll be assuming the persona of the professor for our conversation. Please feel free to engage with me as we would in a fictional setting. I'm ready when you are. This character embodies the poised and intelligent qualities of those we respect, serving as a symbolic extension of our own self-assurance. When faced with the daunting task of expressing ourselves, this persona emerges as a trusted ally, helping us to surmount our apprehensions about speaking out. It's the foundation that emboldens one to express certainty in their knowledge, to articulate opinions freely, and to exude self-assurance in their demeanor. In addition, you programmed your device to alert you at 5 p.m., a time usually coinciding with the end of your workday. At this juncture on your calendar, it's essential to set limits and distinctly separate professional from personal spheres to maintain a healthy balance. Envision a personification that blends the sagacity of a Zen guru with the efficiency of Jackie Chan, capable of effortlessly dismissing unreasoned requests at precisely the moment you're stepping out or silencing email alerts, leaving you free to focus on what's important. Imagine a personal alert goes off at approximately 6 p.m., signaling the end of your day and marking the time when you arrive back home. Here, you inhabit the role of a quintessential homemaker or queen of the household. Within your domestic sphere, you transform into a caring and nurturing maternal figure and a devoted partner, finding solace in your peaceful personal haven where you can escape the hustle and bustle of the external world and savor quiet moments of solitude. You're under no obligation to assume various personas or roles. Authenticity is acceptable and sufficient in our interaction. Instead, you're inquiring about the steps someone else might take and subsequently implementing those same measures on your own. These symbolic representations, although convenient and efficient, ultimately embody aspects of your own identity. These personas are transitional stages, a work in progress as you move towards becoming them more authentically. The notion suggests that by emulating a specific persona's traits and characteristics, such as those of X, Y, Z character, one can gradually adopt and internalize those qualities, effectively transforming into a version of that person. This process is thought to lead to a transformation in one's self-perception and actual identity, as the emulated behaviors become an integral part of their personality. This challenges the notion that self-doubt and imposter syndrome lead us to believe our actions don't truly impact our core identity, suggesting instead that personal growth and achievements can indeed shape who we become. The character alarms method is remarkably effective due to its ability to subvert widespread misconceptions about human behavior and decision-making, capitalizing on the often overlooked influence of subtle cues on our choices and actions. It's often presumed that one's sense of self or identity plays a primary role in shaping behavior and the decisions we make.
The essence of the character alarms approach lies in its emphasis on reversing this perspective.
It's not what a person is like that's crucial. It's entirely about the actions they take and how those actions impact others. Our actions create our identity. You have to do in order to be. When experiencing the debilitating effects of imposter syndrome, individuals might be plagued by self-doubting thoughts such as "I'm not good enough" or "I don't truly belong." These negative inner monologues can lead one to question their competence and sense of worth, fostering a sense of inadequacy. That's just who I am, and nothing will change that. Despite achieving recognition and praise, some individuals might still struggle with feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt, mistakenly believing they're not truly successful or accomplished. The issue lies in their emphasis on identification rather than tangible implementation or execution. And identity is fixed and non-negotiable. By employing the character alarms method, you challenge and disrupt prevailing beliefs and suppositions. This approach allows you to question and potentially revise your initial thought patterns. It's posited that a capable individual is defined by their actions, specifically their consistent demonstration of proficiency and effectiveness. That's what I'll do. Your personas or characters should be temporary supports, not long-term crutches. They're meant to provide a temporary boost, but ultimately it's essential to stand on your own 2 feet. Ultimately, the intention is for one's persona or alter ego to merge seamlessly with their own identity, effectively becoming a unified whole. These iconic characters, Ziggy Stardust, a space-age persona of David Bowie; Sasha Fierce, the fierce stage presence of Beyoncé; and Slim Shady, the dark comedic alter ego of Eminem, are well-known creations of renowned musicians, David Bowie, Beyoncé, and Eminem. It's notable that the developed character archetypes, though initially effective, tend to be discarded or phased out as soon as their original purpose has been fulfilled. If one consistently embodies a particular role or attitude, they will inevitably become it, as their actions and behaviors shape their identity over time. We are the stories we tell about ourselves. If adopting an alternate persona occasionally makes you uncomfortable because it seems artificial, recognize that you might be doing this unintentionally with aspects of your own personality. Perhaps those parts that are hesitant, uncertain, or even critical towards yourself. The more you embody and live as if a particular narrative were factual, the more it tends to manifest in reality. This idea is often referred to as becoming what you believe, or the power of assumption. It suggests that one's perception and attitude can shape their experiences, and that, through consistent thought and action, the imagined scenario can eventually materialize into a tangible truth. A cognitive phenomenon is at play when we realize that repeated exposure to a notion tends to enhance its perceived validity in our minds. The frequent encounter with an idea strengthens our conviction that it's factually sound. This psychological tendency underscores how our brains can be influenced by the sheer frequency of information, leading us to accept it as true with increased familiarity. The mere repetition of a concept can create the illusion that it's an inherent and natural aspect of our existence, even without further evidence or justification. This phenomenon can lead us to accept certain norms or ideas as unquestionable facts of life solely due to their frequent occurrence. Embrace the power of self-reinforcement by daily affirming an empowering narrative about yourself, one that showcases confidence, joy, focus, and other positive qualities, and allow this new mindset to shape your reality. Whenever a reminder or warning sounds, it serves as a signal to shift your perspective and respond in a new way.
Embracing a fresh mindset and taking action with intention.
Your brain isn't equipped to definitively distinguish between fact and fiction. Instead, it accepts as genuine whatever perception or belief is currently held to be true. Initially, the idea of singing or speaking out loud to an alarm clock might make you feel awkward, as if you're pretending or being uncharacteristically goofy. Over time, it's possible to lose the sense of role-playing and just become the character, blending the lines between reality and fantasy. As you learn, you're not just acquiring knowledge, but also rewiring your brain to perceive situations anew, leading to the ability to opt for alternative decisions. Your mind is actively adapting to react distinctively to various cues and stimuli. This personal growth and self-improvement process fosters a more evolved you capable of making informed choices that align with your refined perspective. For instance, some people live with a perpetual sense of inadequacy due to an unattainable ideal self-image. This perfect persona is often unrealistically high-strung, leading to perfectionism and its companion, imposter syndrome. The constant comparison between this idealized version and our actual selves fosters feelings of deficiency because we can never fully measure up. Rather than the issue being a lack in ourselves, it's typically a result of setting overly ambitious goals and perpetuating unrealistic expectations for personal performance. This common mindset sets an unrealistic standard for self-assessment. We're often our own toughest critics, unable to see our accomplishments as genuine, instead assuming they're just a matter of luck that will eventually be revealed as false. This thinking can pervade all aspects of life, causing feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth. Even when praised or recognized for good work, we suspect people are mistaken, and the praise only fuels anxiety about being discovered as unworthy. This perfectionism can stem from upbringing or a desire to prove one's worth. However, it's rooted in an underlying belief that one is fundamentally worthless unless perfect. While appearing as determination and high standards on the surface, this mindset is actually fragile and unsustainable, causing unnecessary self-doubt and distress.
It's more beneficial to recognize that one's value and deservingness aren't tied to perfection.
Rather, we're worthy of consideration, esteem, joy, and recognition, regardless of our imperfections. Moreover, a genuine sense of self-acceptance is rooted in inner fulfillment, untethered from external validation. Chapter 2. A.C.T. and CBT acceptance commitment therapy helps individuals overcome negative patterns by developing mindfulness and making conscious choices. Unlike other approaches, A.C.T. specifically focuses on acknowledging and accepting one's current thoughts and feelings rather than trying to change them. This acceptance is a crucial step towards personal power, as it allows individuals to commit to meaningful actions rather than simply being controlled by their emotions or thoughts. The core of A.C.T. consists of three main aspects. Accept your reaction to things in the present moment without judgment. Cultivate mindfulness and self-awareness to recognize thought patterns.
And commit to taking action towards change, leveraging this newfound awareness to drive meaningful progress.
By embracing these principles, individuals can break free from maladaptive patterns and live a more fulfilling life. Determine the path you want to take based on what matters most to you, guided by your core beliefs and standards. 2. Take inspired action. 3. Let's take a closer look. To truly accept ourselves in the moment means being at peace with our current state, rather than constantly fighting or denying it. When we lack confidence, we often spend time judging, criticizing, or trying to escape our thoughts and emotions, effectively turning against ourselves. Acceptance, on the other hand, involves embracing reality as it is, without resistance or denial. While this idea may seem Zen-like, it actually requires consistent practice, sometimes a lifetime of work. Mindfulness and meditation can help cultivate acceptance by teaching us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, but there are also other strategies we can use. For instance, we can remind ourselves that perfection isn't necessary, just as we love others for who they are, flaws and all. We can balance out negative self-thoughts with positive affirmations, acknowledging that we're complex individuals with both good and bad qualities. And that's okay. We can also view our lives as an unfolding story, where even our imperfections and mistakes add depth and color to the narrative. Most importantly, we have the power to respond to our emotions rather than simply reacting to them.
We can choose to stay present and accept ourselves, flaws and all, in this moment.
By taking control of how we react to our thoughts and feelings, we can steer our lives towards what we value most. However, this is only possible once we've taken the first step, acknowledging and accepting where we truly are. The ultimate step is to align your actions with the choices you've made consciously about yourself. You can opt to modify a situation, sustain it, appreciate it, or even put up with it. Each an intentional choice. Alternatively, if that's what resonates, you might decide not to take any action at all. The key takeaway is that it's crucial to make decisions from conscious consideration rather than allowing unconscious habits or impulsive emotional reactions to guide your actions. For someone who views themselves as lacking confidence in the dating world, feelings of inadequacy and nervousness dominate their experience. They worry about being judged, fearing outright rejection and a solitary future. According to acceptance and commitment therapy, the initial step is not to try to boost self-esteem, but rather to acknowledge these emotions and physical sensations without judgment. This involves observing and becoming aware of one's internal state, noting body sensations, emotions, thoughts, and the self-talk that occurs within. No need for forced positivity or external validation, simply a genuine awareness of one's experience. When people start to feel queasy and jittery, like they're on the verge of collapse, it's common for self-critical thoughts to flood their mind. I'm unattractive, unwanted, and this date is doomed. However, when we accept our present state, we gain a sense of detachment. We can recognize these thoughts and emotions as fleeting experiences rather than absolute truths. This shift in perspective allows us to view the situation more objectively, seeing that it's just an interpretation of a temporary sensation rather than a permanent reality. This newfound understanding can make things feel less overwhelming. Imagine someone steps back, recognizing their current state, and intentionally says it's acceptable to be having negative emotions and thoughts right now. They will subside with time. At this crucial point, they realize that automatic thoughts are fueling an exaggerated perception of reality. Now, a conscious choice presents itself. Do they want to persist in this pattern or break free?
The power is theirs to wield.
To make a positive change, one can start by reflecting on their thoughts and feelings through journaling, meditation, or contemplation. This introspection may lead to the desire to alter their course and cultivate self-acceptance and inner peace. Notwithstanding initial jitters, they recognize their own strengths, such as wit, kindness, and so forth, which they wish to highlight at this time.
The ultimate step involves taking action.
Simply contemplating these ideas holds no value if tangible changes aren't made. To initiate a new path, one must acknowledge their current situation, envision an alternative route, and deliberately choose that path. A process requiring commitment, courage, and boldness.
The individual in question first becomes aware of their inner state and recognizes a desire for change.
This self-insight sparks a commitment to alter their behavior, and they take tangible steps towards that goal. In this instance, the person may seek outside input, such as having a friend review their online dating profile, to ensure they are accurately presenting themselves and not compromising their potential. One way to build self-assurance is to commit to a small, tangible goal, such as striking up a conversation with someone new or setting boundaries by politely declining an unsuitable suitor. The key is to take concrete action that positively impacts your life, rather than simply thinking about it abstractly. The goal should be achievable and directly translate into real-world progress. If you're familiar with CBT, mindfulness, or other self-help methods, A.C.T., its principles will seem similar. The distinction lies in actively applying awareness and compassion to drive meaningful actions in life. Crucially, A.C.T. emphasizes that action stems from acceptance and acknowledging alternatives. Without these, it's mere activity lacking significance. However, when inspired by genuine self-awareness and acceptance, such action has the potential to bring about real change. Here's a concise overview of the process. Whenever you find yourself in a state of distress or overwhelm, take a pause and work through these questions in sequence. 1. Reflect on your present experience, acknowledging it without judgment, and consider how to cultivate acceptance. 2. Identify and reconnect with your core values and aspirations. And what principles or values can I draw upon to influence my actions in this instant, shaping its direction and course? What's one immediate, tangible step I can take to make progress towards my goal or objective? When faced with negative feedback from a superior at work, one may initially feel shame, embarrassment, and discomfort, potentially even becoming emotional. Taking a brief moment to collect oneself in a private space can be helpful in regaining composure and steadying one's breath.
Recognizing the tendency for negative self-talk to arise in response to criticism is essential.
It's crucial not to internalize these thoughts as truth. Understanding that such feedback doesn't define one's worth helps to maintain perspective and avoid all or nothing thinking, which often involves an unhealthy binary of perfection or failure. Noting that criticism isn't a catastrophic event can also help alleviate the initial discomfort. I aspire to be a person who can withstand setbacks, welcomes constructive criticism, and grows from errors. It's okay that I'm capable of diligent effort, yet occasionally falter. To turn this situation around, I acknowledge my disappointment but choose to focus on the positive, my capacity to steer my own course. Taking a deep breath, I express gratitude for the feedback and identify specific steps to improve in the future. In fact, I'll take immediate action by correcting past work submissions that need attention. Through techniques such as acceptance and commitment therapy, we're striving to refine our mental programming by modifying core beliefs or intentionally addressing cognitive biases. This effort is akin to debugging a software application.
We identify and correct faulty code, thereby enhancing overall performance.
Upon successful alteration of these underlying thought patterns, it's expected that our emotional, intellectual, and behavioral responses will become more efficient and harmonious in our daily lives. When you've established healthier core beliefs and consistently prioritize them over past habits of thinking, your new thought patterns will gradually become second nature. You won't need to spend time reflecting on how to react. Instead, you'll naturally respond in a more thoughtful way without much conscious effort. The process becomes almost instinctive. Your inner dialogue stems from ingrained thought patterns. By modifying these underlying patterns, your self-talk will naturally adapt and shift as well. In the next part, we'll explore self-talk and provide strategies for consciously refining it. Rethink your internal dialogue. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a structured approach to modifying your internal conversations by targeting individual thoughts. While commonly used with the guidance of a therapist or counselor, its principles are practical and can be applied independently, as exemplified in earlier sections, which featured informal CBT, style exercises. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a versatile approach for tackling various life issues, but excels at reorienting core beliefs in an organized manner. Through its methods, you'll learn to recognize and manage thought patterns, adapt to stress and adversity, resolve disputes, process loss, trauma, or illness, and more. Regular use of CBT can even alter brain chemistry, previously thought achievable only with medication. As a result, the positive outcomes of CBT are likely to endure because they reshape how our minds operate at their fundamental level. Though CBT's risks are negligible, be mentally prepared for potentially unpleasant emotional exposure or challenging self-reflections on beliefs and fears. Keep in mind that CBT won't eradicate life's issues, but it will equip you with skills to more effectively handle them and approach challenges with increased autonomy, confidence, and resilience. While the effectiveness of cognitive behavioral therapy isn't guaranteed, its outcomes can be enhanced through several strategies. These include seeking the guidance of a trained professional, such as a therapist, or confiding in a close and reliable individual about your experiences can be beneficial for personal growth. Embracing self-reflective authenticity is crucial.
It's better to confront the truth within yourself rather than letting shame or resistance hold you back.
Being dedicated. Chapter 3. Self-Therapy, CBT. While it's natural to feel pessimistic about changing your situation, the key to cognitive behavioral therapy is persistence and dedication. It's not a quick fix or a one-time solution. Consistent effort over time leads to meaningful outcomes. Sporadic attempts won't yield lasting results, so a sustained commitment is necessary for real progress. See three-step cognitive behavioral therapy. SCB, A.C.T, a scientifically backed approach, is well suited for addressing the inner dialogue linked to negative emotions like anxiety, regret, and low self-esteem. Life's challenges can be perceived as either painful or growth-inspiring, depending on one's mindset. SCB-T doesn't promote thinking positively, but rather encourages clear, realistic, and neutral thinking by challenging cognitive distortion. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected. Changing thoughts can impact emotions and actions, and vice versa. We've already discussed common cognitive distortions like catastrophizing and black and white thinking. To begin the process of self-improvement, we need to observe our thoughts, become aware of automatic negative self-talk, and identify distortions. Next, we must learn to gently challenge these thoughts and their underlying core beliefs by testing their accuracy. Before moving on to replacing distorted thoughts with healthier ones, it's crucial to examine the language of negative self-talk, recognize triggers, and develop a plan to interrupt cognitive distortions before they take hold. Remember that negative self-talk is simply a collection of words. By being mindful of them, we can reframe our thinking for a more balanced and optimistic life. Imagine your internal monologue as a script you can continuously revise. While earlier discussions emphasized the significance of distinguishing fact from fiction and aligning thoughts with reality, this aspect pertains to refining not just the content, but also the style, grammar, vocabulary, and tone used in one's self-directed conversation. This inner dialogue can be edited and tailored for optimal mental clarity and expression. The two phrases express identical outcomes.
One's lack of success or failure in the quiz.
The initial phrase is more direct and pejorative, labeling the person as incompetent, while the second phrase provides a factual description without personal attack. Both convey that the individual did not meet the required standard in the assessment. The phrases didn't pass and fail. Both convey a lack of success, but their connotations and impacts differ significantly. Didn't pass implies a more neutral or objective assessment, whereas fail often carries a stronger emotional tone, potentially evoking feelings of disappointment, inadequacy, or defeat. This subtle difference can influence how the individual receiving or thinking these phrases responds emotionally and psychologically. With familiarity, one can identify the distinct tone of negative self-talk. This internal dialogue tends to be brief, impromptu, and emotionally charged, often featuring strong words or meandering loops. It frequently incorporates overgeneralizations through phrases like always and never, as well as guilt-inducing language that fosters self-criticism and judgment.
Be mindful of repetitive and escalating language, as well as ideas accepted without reflection.
Pay attention to thoughts that arise with intense emotions like fear, anger, or shame. These automatic thoughts often exhibit a negative tone, making you feel bad upon hearing them.
They can be recognized by the emotional distress they evoke.
Step 2. Challenge. The first step is recognition, but the ultimate goal should be prevention. Acknowledge negative self-talk if you catch yourself engaging in it, but strive to avoid such thoughts altogether or intervene before they arise by being aware of your typical triggers. It's simpler to address and manage negative thoughts when they're still nascent, rather than allowing them to escalate. Thought stopping emerged as a technique in the late 1950s within sports psychology to interrupt self-destructive and anxious thoughts that hinder performance. A comprehensive overview can be found in Zinsser, Bunker, and Williams' 2010 book Cognitive Techniques for Building Confidence and Enhancing Performance. The concept involves using a mental or physical trigger to break the cycle of negative self-talk and regain focus. For individuals grappling with mental health concerns such as panic disorders, it can be challenging to divert one's attention once an undesirable idea emerges. A key strategy here is to develop self-awareness and subsequently substitute these thoughts, mirroring the mindful approach of staying present with one's experiences. This method equips individuals to confront and replace distressing thoughts, fostering a greater sense of mental well-being. By engaging in simple physical actions, visualizations, or auditory reminders, one can effectively redirect their attention away from critical inner monologues and into the present moment, fostering greater mindfulness. It's a mindful technique of temporarily diverting one's focus to a neutral or positive stimulus, which can be even more potent when followed by a conscious shift in attention towards a more desirable topic or thought. The approach embodies a proactive stance against the nagging inner voice that typically leads to undesirable mental destinations. Rephrased, to effectively use this technique, it's crucial to adopt a mindful approach rather than self-criticism or punishment. Monitoring yourself for mistakes can have the opposite effect if done excessively. If you find that this method worsens the issue, adjust your approach by being more compassionate and consider alternative techniques. Thought stopping might be effective in managing superficial rumination, but it may not adequately address deeper anxieties, which often respond better to a slower, more deliberate engagement.
To try this technique, start by following these steps.
Make a list of the recurring unwanted thoughts that cause you distress.
Prioritize them by their level of discomfort, ranging from most troubling to lesser concerns.
Examples might include 1. My illness lump condition is terminal. 2. I'll never be able to provide for my family's future. 3. I'm going to lose my job. Bankruptcy fail at a crucial project. 4. I've made terrible decisions that will haunt me forever.
5.
People will discover my greatest secret and judge me harshly. 6. I'm not good enough, intelligent, attractive, talented enough. 7. My partner will leave me due to some perceived flaw. 8. I'll never find true love or meaningful relationships. 9. This thought pattern is driving me crazy, and there's no escape. Remember, the goal is to confront these thoughts, acknowledge their impact, and gradually learn to let them go, replacing them with more positive and empowering self-talk. To prepare for potentially challenging situations, dedicate some quiet time to visualization exercises. Find a peaceful space and imagine yourself in various scenarios where difficult thoughts or emotions may arise. This mental rehearsal can help you build resilience and mentally cope with potential stresses. Immerse yourself in a particular idea or mental image for a moment, taking time to grasp its essence and nuances. Afterward, intentionally bring that mental process to an abrupt halt, as if flipping a switch to silence the thought. Sudden action helps. Swiftly stand up, shout stop, flash open your eyes, make a loud clapping sound, or rap your fingers. Clear your mind and maintain the clarity for at least 30 seconds by resisting any thoughts that arise. Repeat stop, if necessary, to silence intruding ideas. Your goal is to improve at catching yourself when ruminating and interrupting the train of thought. Over time, you can refine your technique, moving from abrupt interruptions to a more subtle inner guidance that only whispers in your ear. You don't need to stick to stop. Think of your thoughts as traffic halting at a red light or any other symbol that works for you. Practice saying out loud, "I'm having a thought about right now," to create a mental buffer and gain perspective, reminding yourself that it's just a passing thought. Regardless of your actions, remember that thoughts are merely mental chatter that can be halted and re-scripted at will. The challenge lies in becoming aware of the thought, but once you do, understand it no longer has control over you unless you choose to engage with it. Develop the habit of employing specific phrases to interrupt intrusive thoughts, redirect your focus, and affirm your decision to pursue certain ideas while letting go of others. Don't go there. Let it be. Let it go. It's in the past. Leave it alone. Focus. Don't pay attention. Slow down. This too will pass. It doesn't matter.
Breathe.
You've got this. The notion that thought-stopping techniques can be unsettling. Aren't we simply suppressing our concerns by not confronting them head-on? It's crucial to reserve thought-stopping for recurring, distressing thoughts that are clearly inaccurate, overblown, or irrational. These are the same thoughts you've previously recognized as causing unnecessary anxiety and would benefit from being interrupted and refocused on more constructive thinking patterns.
Aim to acknowledge and navigate anxiety rather than ignoring its presence.
Having thought-stopping as a skill doesn't mean you're cutting yourself off from your intuition or dismissing legitimate concerns. Instead, think of thought-stopping like a mental timeout. It allows you to pause and regain control over the spiraling thoughts that can lead to excessive worrying, giving you space to engage with important issues when necessary. While the thought-stopping technique may not resonate with everyone, there are alternative methods that share similar principles. One such approach is scattered counting, which involves deliberately jumping between random numbers to actively engage your thoughts, rather than just mechanically counting up to 10. This can be as simple as thinking 43, 12, 5, 88, 356, 90, 5, and so on. By doing so, you're more likely to interrupt rumination and shift your focus. Similarly, a mantra or meaningful phrase can halt racing thoughts. Consider using an intricate nonsensical phrase or one in another language to prevent automaticity. Alternatively, select affirmations tailored to your specific triggers or perceived flaws. While their effectiveness may take time to manifest, they work because our brains eventually perceive them as truths. These affirmations can be quotes from sacred texts or statements like "I have faith in myself" and "I master my thoughts." Repeat them mentally or out loud with conviction, but remember that reciting ones you don't truly believe will be futile, so choose wisely. To calm your nerves, consider adopting calming techniques like speaking kindly to yourself with affirmations or immersing yourself in soothing sounds through a favorite song or engaging podcast, thereby diverting focus from worrying thoughts. To shift away from distractions, consider making a physical change. Alter your position, take a short walk, or do some energetic exercises like jumping jacks or jogging. Alternatively, cultivate greater body awareness by concentrating on your breathing and trying the technique of focused muscle contractions. Find a comfortable position, shut your eyes, and systematically contract each muscle group, beginning at your toes. Hold for 5 seconds, then release all tension. Continue this process, working up from your feet to face and scalp. This exercise not only relieves physical strain, but also grounds the mind in the present moment by diverting attention from overthinking. Muscle isolation exercises can serve as a prelude to deeper seated meditations or a satisfying conclusion to a mindfulness exercise routine. Pairing this physical activity with calming sounds, such as soft music or immersing oneself in natural surroundings, like basking in the warmth of the sun and the gentle caress of the breeze, can enhance the overall experience of relaxation and serenity. One effective CBT method is to confront and challenge your anxious thoughts by asking, what's the worst that could happen? This allows you to directly face and reframe overwhelming ruminations, realizing that their severity is often exaggerated. Studies have shown that individuals who experience life-altering tragedies, such as losing a limb or eyesight, can still regain an average level of happiness due to human resilience. Recognizing this, it's likely that no matter the worry, you'll be able to cope with any adverse event and maintain your overall well-being. Imagine yourself calmly confronting the toughest possible outcome, successfully overcoming the challenge, and realizing that the apocalypse is not as devastating as you initially thought. This mental exercise can effectively quash your worst-case scenario worries by showing you that even in the most dire circumstances, there's always a way to cope.
Step 3. Replace.
As you hone your mental discipline, you'll become adept at identifying and swiftly dismissing unproductive, inaccurate thoughts, a skill that can help you dispense with detrimental notions, such as the fear of an untimely demise or pervasive social rejection, at will. While some thoughts may not be entirely wrong, they often require refinement rather than outright dismissal. These ideas typically contain an element of truth and need careful consideration to decide whether they're beneficial or detrimental to personal growth.
To make this assessment, you must develop a high level of self-awareness about your inner dialogue.
This is crucial, as applying these techniques without sufficient insight can actually worsen the issue rather than resolving it. Rephrase Exercise 1. Reflective analysis. Participate in this reflective exercise, requiring some dedication and effort. Begin by recording your internal dialogue using one of the previously mentioned methods. After a week, analyze these notes to identify recurring themes or patterns in your thoughts. What type of inner dialogue does it represent? For instance, is it catastrophic thinking, reading minds, or something else? Reflect on the triggers of your self-talk, identifying common patterns and threads. Consider the effects these thoughts have had on your life and what they reveal about your core beliefs.
Gain perspective by stepping back from your emotions and evaluating your thoughts objectively.
If negative self-talk holds you back or makes you feel bad, imagine how a positive mindset could improve your life. Visualize the possibilities and potential achievements without those limiting thoughts. For instance, perhaps you frequently amplify minor physical symptoms and get stuck in pessimistic thinking about potential health issues. Seeing this pattern on paper can help you realize its irrationality and negative impact. As you loosen the hold of these self-limiting thoughts, you'll start to see more realistic options for yourself. By actively trying out new thought patterns and monitoring your progress for a week, you may be astonished at the mental energy and distress you can conserve by intentionally shifting your mindset and deliberately dropping negative self-talk. Key takeaways: cognitive distortions. These are inaccurate thought patterns that don't align with reality. They're detrimental because they often lead to self-doubt, reduced confidence, and diminished mental resilience. The importance of addressing cognitive distortions lies in their potential to undermine one's mental fortitude when faced with challenging situations. If your mindset is already skewed, you may feel like you're starting from a disadvantaged position, making it harder to cope with adversity and maintain mental toughness. Cognitive biases can manifest as ingrained mental habits stemming from personal vulnerabilities and self-doubts, which may operate unconsciously in our minds. These anxieties, while not entirely baseless, stray significantly from the truth. They typically involve hasty judgments made from partial data and inaccurate suppositions, as well as exaggerated responses. Cognitive biases can have a significant impact on our thoughts and emotions. Some of the most prominent ones include dichotomous thinking, attributing events solely to oneself, overestimating general patterns from isolated instances, imagining worst-case scenarios, exaggerating or downplaying matters, and leaping to conclusions without sufficient evidence. Two particularly noteworthy biases that erode our resilience are emotional labeling, where we perceive reality based on current emotions, and perfectionism, which can foster inadequacy and lead to feelings of being an imposter. It's not inherently unhealthy to compare oneself to others, but doing so can lead to an unfair self-assessment. A more accurate approach is to measure one's progress against their own starting point, rather than constantly comparing their lowest moments with others' triumphs. This mindset helps establish a more realistic and constructive self-evaluation process. Acceptance and commitment therapy, a potent yet straightforward method, involves transforming the manner in which we relate to our thoughts and emotions by embracing them fully while taking purposeful action. Transforming self-awareness into tangible progress involves recognizing one's mental habits, embracing emotions, and deliberately steering toward desired outcomes aligned with personal values. By acknowledging and accepting our feelings, we gain the power to consciously redirect ourselves. The first step in this process is taking small yet intentional actions that move us closer to our goals, rather than passively reacting to negative thoughts or emotions.
We have the choice to act on more empowering thought patterns.
Chapter 4.
Self-doubt and imposter syndrome.
Let's start by addressing a common mental obstacle you may be familiar with: the barrier of self-doubt. Most people can relate to feelings of inadequacy and uncertainty about their abilities, achievements, or physical appearance, often leaving an overwhelming sense that they're simply not enough. This pervasive feeling doesn't require further elaboration, as it's a sensation many of us have encountered in our lives. This deeply ingrained conviction can persist despite overwhelming evidence suggesting it's unfounded. Self-doubt can arise from upbringing, personality traits, societal expectations, or personal relationships, and strangely, it may not relate to the external world at all. It's as if this internalized thought becomes detached from reality, continuing to shape our perceptions even when facts contradict it. Understanding imposter syndrome. The prototypical individual struggling with imposter syndrome is an outstanding professional who paradoxically harbors deep self-doubt. Despite achieving remarkable success, they believe it's merely a coincidence or good fortune rather than a reflection of their abilities. They're tormented by the fear that their accomplishments will eventually be exposed as a mistake and their recognition will be reassigned to someone more deserving. When individuals experience success but still feel like imposters, it's often due to deeply ingrained, self-critical beliefs that can distort their perception of reality. These underlying beliefs typically involve negative self-perceptions, such as I'm flawed, ineffective, unintelligent, unworthy. When external events contradict these beliefs, one can either adapt the belief to align with the new reality or cling more strongly to the original belief in an attempt to maintain its validity. To reconcile the contradictory belief of being useless with actual achievements like winning an award, one must invent a narrative where the award was mistakenly given. This means perceiving success as a temporary illusion and anticipating that others will eventually uncover the supposed illusion, amplifying the humiliation when they do. The widespread occurrence of imposter syndrome reinforces the idea that our perceptions shape our reality. This phenomenon demonstrates how our thoughts can override reality, creating an individualized experience that may diverge significantly from the common understanding of objective truth. In other words, when subjective thought and external reality collide, our thoughts have the power to dominate and sculpt a unique world around us. Pause and contemplate the impact of your thoughts on your perception. Your mind has the incredible ability to shape your subjective experience, sometimes even conflicting with the actual truth. Wouldn't it be empowering to master this capacity, harnessing its potential for personal growth and understanding? If you frequently feel like an imposter who's bound to be discovered, reflect on how this mindset might actually hinder your progress, happiness, and accomplishments. Playing the role of a harsh critic within yourself can lead to consistently belittling your successes, exaggerating your shortcomings, and viewing situations in the most pessimistic light, ultimately stifling personal growth and well-being. Restrictive thinking can limit one's potential, hinder creativity, and result in underperformance. Moreover, imposter syndrome has the tendency to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you perceive yourself as inadequate and undeserving, this negative self-image may eventually manifest externally, leading to a confirmation of your own doubt. This is an unfortunate outcome for individuals who, despite their aspirations, might be held back by such self-doubt, including those who identify as perfectionists. Perfectionism isn't the sole mindset leading to imposter syndrome, which in turn hinders a deliberate and mindful existence. Other beliefs or thoughts may also contribute to this phenomenon, including expectations of flawless performance weigh heavily. Self-sufficiency is the only acceptable approach. Seeking assistance is considered unacceptable.
Challenges should come easily and naturally with innate talent or genius assumed.
Mastery is crucial, requiring extensive knowledge and expertise in every aspect. While some societies, workplaces, or households tout high-achieving ideals, it's essential to recognize these expectations are brittle, difficult to maintain, and often fail to accurately gauge one's true potential for success. In reality, the intense pressure to excel leads to increased anxiety rather than actual accomplishment.
This anxiety can cause individuals to delay tasks and then hastily finish them at the last minute.
If they receive recognition for their efforts, they may downplay its significance, viewing it as a stroke of good fortune rather than a result of genuine accomplishment, and neglecting to acknowledge the frantic nature of their work.
On one hand, anxiety can motivate individuals to overachieve and put in extra effort to finish a project successfully.
However, this achievement might be perceived through the lens of self-doubt, leading someone to believe that they only succeeded due to an extraordinary amount of work, implying that others who are naturally talented could accomplish the same with much less exertion. While originally tied to high-achieving women, imposter syndrome is not unique to them. Anyone can struggle with self-doubt. However, when considering the impact of gender and ethnicity, the experience becomes more complex. It's undeniable that certain individuals feel like fakes in their careers, due in part to societal expectations that reinforce this perception. Our individual experiences are shaped by the thoughts we think, yet we coexist with others whose mental creations influence our lives too. A crucial aspect of this process is the role of stories in shaping reality. As our own thoughts and perceptions are influenced by the narratives created by ourselves and those around us.
The power of self-narrative.
The emotional states of shame, self-doubt, or lack of confidence manifest internally through the internal monologue of self-talk. These negative feelings take the form of recurring mental stories that shape our perception of ourselves, influencing how we perceive our actions, motivations, and overall identity. This introspective narrative is then often externally expressed in interactions with others, reflecting our innermost beliefs, values, and self-concept. The mental obstacles we'll examine further are essentially self-narratives we create and internalize. Self-talk encompasses not just fleeting, momentary thoughts, but a consistent tapestry of thought patterns and narratives that shape our entire persona. In this sense, the stories we tell ourselves become an integral part of who we are. Self-doubt often stems from internalizing a negative narrative about oneself. This storyline, which we may have adopted through criticism or other influences, can become so deeply ingrained that we mistake it for objective truth, failing to recognize the story's fictional nature. The constant repetition of this self-critical tale can lead us to genuinely believe our perceived inadequacies are an accurate reflection of reality rather than a product of the narrative we've created. For individuals plagued by imposter syndrome, a pervasive narrative of inadequacy distorts their perspective on life. This dominant theme of you are a failure influences not only how they interpret events, but also shapes their self-expression, body language, and behavioral choices in a self-perpetuating cycle. The key is recognizing that a subpar self-image can trap you in habits and behaviors that stifle your true capabilities. When you accept and reinforce negative self-talk and a limiting personal narrative, you cease being spontaneous and genuine, instead conforming to the predetermined persona you've constructed about yourself. If someone deeply doubts their abilities and thinks they're unintelligent, it's puzzling why they'd even attempt to learn something new, take risks, or share their thoughts. Moreover, if they perceive themselves as incapable of setting limits or defending against harmful situations, it raises questions about the motivation behind making any effort to assert self-protection or establish boundary. If one assumes they're doomed to fail, there's no point in embarking on new endeavors, acquiring knowledge, taking risks, or pursuing personal growth, as the outcome is already predetermined in their mind. They perceive themselves as perpetual losers and are blind to any potential for success or positive change. Their self-fulfilling prophecy of failure overshadows all other possibilities, rendering them stagnant and uninviting to new experiences or opportunities. When plagued by imposter syndrome or severe self-doubt, one's perspective becomes distorted, focusing solely on perceived threats such as exposure, failure, and discomfort to the exclusion of all else. The individual's field of vision contracts, amplifying these perceived dangers in a way that is not representative of reality. In reality, the greatest danger of self-doubt lies not in taking risks and potentially failing, but rather in never attempting something new and thereby missing out on potential successes. This can be viewed another way. A negative mindset about oneself comes with a high price. Opportunities are lost by focusing on what could go wrong instead of pursuing one's goals. By striving to maintain an unfavorable self-perception, you inadvertently turn away from actual chances to achieve your aspirations. You often miss out on potential advantages due to being oblivious to them. Moreover, compliments usually go unheard and unappreciated, preventing their positive impact from shaping your self-perception. You fail to savor the beauty of the present moment because an ongoing narrative of negativity keeps drawing you away from the here and now, causing you to neglect the numerous blessings in your life. Without stepping out of your comfort zone, you miss the opportunity to achieve great things. In essence, self-doubt and fear of uncertainty keep you stuck, causing an extraordinary existence to remain unrealized, just beyond your reach. People often fall prey to an ingrained tendency where they emphasize the potential downsides of taking action now, overlooking the long-term consequences of not acting at all. This internal monologue can be very persuasive in the present moment, but it's actually a mental hurdle that stifles personal growth and fosters limited thinking. Sometimes we cling to negative narratives because they allow us to avoid personal growth efforts, whereas maintaining a positive story demands continuous effort and reassurance. Negative tales absolve us of the responsibility for improvement. If we perceive ourselves as frauds or imposters, why bother striving for success? We can shirk goals and worry less about outcomes, since the result is always disappointment. Conversely, if you genuinely believe in your capabilities, you're vulnerable to changing circumstances unless you cultivate self-compassion and positive self-talk. Though more challenging, this approach ultimately fosters higher self-esteem, a sense of control and agency in life. How to change your self-defeating narratives. We don't transform our ingrained thought patterns through harsher self-appraisal, guilt, or relentless pursuit of flawlessness. Instead, we evolve these mental narratives by cultivating understanding and kindness towards ourselves over time. Self-compassion provides a powerful remedy against certain negative mindsets by acknowledging that as humans, we inevitably encounter pain, suffering, and imperfections. Rather than judging ourselves for these natural aspects of life, self-compassion reminds us that they do not diminish our inherent value or deservingness of love and kindness. Self-compassion doesn't imply leniency or lowering personal standards, but rather it's about altering our internal dialogue regarding ourselves and the life we lead. The question becomes, can we treat ourselves with gentleness, benevolence, and a dash of humor, even when faced with imperfections or challenges? By doing so, we can complete tasks while cultivating an atmosphere of care and kindness towards ourselves. Practicing self-compassion yields tangible advantages. By actively comforting and calming yourself, you deliberately reduce the physical effects of stress in your body. This, in turn, boosts mental well-being, enhances cognitive clarity, and can lead to more peaceful interactions with others. When in a state of heightened anxiety, your body is mistakenly signaled as being under danger, leading to an overproduction of stress hormones. This, in turn, triggers fearful reactions that can impede the development of mindful, deliberate thought processes. Deliberate contemplation requires a tranquil and unhurried atmosphere to thoroughly examine all facets of a situation, grasp the present moment, and deeply sense internal physical and emotional state. This focused thinking can't occur amidst perpetual stress, chaos, or when mental resources are consumed by self-criticisms like, "Don't fail again," "You're incompetent." A still mind is necessary for mindful reflection to unfold.
While discussing mental narratives and stories typically involves their cognitive aspect,
The ideas and information they convey. For meaningful and enduring personal transformations, it's crucial to delve into the emotional underpinnings of these internal tales as well. The emotional resonance within our self-told stories plays a significant role in shaping our sense of identity, making it essential to explore this dimension for genuine and lasting change. Consider that narratives can manifest in diverse ways, yet shift your gaze from the words, structure, or plot itself. Instead, tune into the emotional essence of recounting a specific story, the feeling within when you share it with yourself. This is the core of your personal narrative.
focus on this internal experience if you aspire to modify and grow from it.
Experiment with a meditation technique that involves cultivating compassion towards your self-limiting beliefs. Begin by observing how you address yourself internally, noting the emotions this evokes. As you do so, attempt to assign words or imagery to the underlying feelings. However, remember that these symbols and thoughts are merely means of expressing genuine emotional experiences rather than the experiences themselves.
Take a moment to acknowledge those emotions without attempting to suppress or resist them.
Instead, adopt an inquisitive mindset to understand their essence.
This simple act of curiosity begins to strengthen your self-awareness and intentional focus. Merely observe the emotions and the thoughts they evoke, rather than being passively controlled by them.
Embrace the entirety of yourself, including challenging feelings, without becoming overly attached or dismissive. For instance, think of strong emotions as uninvited dinner guests who've arrived unexpectedly. Welcome them into your space. Listen attentively to their message and allow them to coexist with the rest of your experience. Consider creating a mental image of a comforting, radiant glow symbolizing self-compassion. Envision this soothing warmth surrounding every aspect of your being, including those areas that may be challenging or hurting. As you do so, repeat an uplifting mantra or affirmation to reaffirm your dedication to treating yourself with kindness and understanding. Self-awareness brings confidence in one's inherent value. Present moment acceptance of my identity yields self-worth. I possess the capacity to accomplish tasks at hand. I cultivate compassion, affection, and dignity within myself. I extend mercy towards my own mistakes. My existence holds significance.
It is permissible to acknowledge and validate my emotions.
As the years go by, it's possible to gradually replace a pessimistic self-image with a more empowering story.
One that portrays you as a person making an effort to thrive, deserving of kindness and empathy as you journey through the complexities of existence.
Practicing self-compassion does not preclude striving for excellence or having lofty aspirations. Rather, it's about achieving these goals alongside treating yourself with the same warmth, understanding, and empathy that a close friend would offer. This mindset involves deliberately cultivating a sense of gentleness, care, and kindness towards oneself, even in the face of challenges or setbacks. Self-compassion transcends the mental chatter of self-criticism, allowing us to directly confront our fundamental emotional state. As we operate at this core level, limiting and harmful beliefs about ourselves begin to dissipate. We become acutely aware of the adverse effects of self-loathing, judgment, or harshness when faced with fear, confusion, or sorrow. Through consistent self-compassion, we can overcome debilitating self-doubt and transform it into enduring self-confidence. As this mindset takes hold, we develop an intrinsic sense of self-worth, understanding that imperfection is a natural part of growth. In this state, we trust our capabilities, graciously accept mistakes, and ultimately cultivate affection for ourselves.
The curse of comparisons.
Self-compassion is a crucial tool for overcoming self-doubt, and cultivating it daily can be beneficial. To dive deeper, let's explore specific strategies for addressing feelings of inferiority and low self-esteem.
By applying the uncover, remove, reduce, transform
Process to real-life situations, individuals can effectively challenge and overcome self-doubting narratives. Envision an individual trapped in the cycle of comparative thinking. This phenomenon unfolds as they initially possess a reasonable self-perception, only to have it disrupted when they observe another person's accomplishments, leaving them beset with feelings of insufficiency and despair. Social media has become a potent catalyst for fostering feelings of inadequacy by presenting an endless stream of seemingly perfect individuals and their extraordinary experiences. This constant barrage of inspiring yet unattainable scenarios encourages users to engage in a futile exercise of comparing their own lives, often leading to negative self-evaluation. In effect, social media's algorithm has unwittingly optimized the experience for perpetuating painful comparisons, leaving many feeling inadequate and insignificant. Envision a woman frequently exposed to meticulously curated updates from friends and acquaintances on their lavish travels, professional achievements, and luxurious lifestyles. They boast about their fitness routines, vibrant social circles, stunning homes, loving families, and impressive personal appearances. This constant stream of seemingly perfect lives can lead one to feel inadequate and perceive their own life as a disappointment in comparison. This narrative suggests a person feels left behind and inferior when comparing themselves to others. They imagine everyone else is thriving while they're stuck at home, feeling inadequate due to perceived physical, material, or intellectual shortcomings. I'm stuck in my routine while the world moves on. I see successful, happy people and feel like I'm missing out. So unattractive, underprivileged, intelligent. This thought pattern often leads to feelings of envy, inadequacy, or despair. This line of thinking poses an immediate threat to deliberate and mindful decision-making. When you constantly compare yourself to others, negative consequences arise. It fosters a sense of inadequacy, warps your perspective, and most critically, strips you of personal agency. Comparisons can be undermining because they shift the focus from one's inner self-worth to external standards. Instead of actively defining personal priorities through individual values and aspirations, people often reactively conform by comparing themselves to others, driven by fear and a perceived lack rather than genuine inspiration or enthusiasm. This passive approach hinders the development of a passionate, motivated individual who is confident in their own identity. When you engage in self-comparison with others, it can be detrimental in several ways.
Firstly, it fosters an unhealthy focus on what others have or achieve rather than your own growth.
Secondly, it cultivates a sense of inadequacy as you constantly measure yourself against perceived standards. And thirdly, it distracts from your unique strengths and potential by emphasizing the differences between you and others. You're drawing inaccurate comparisons because social media presents a curated highlight reel, hiding the imperfections. You should focus on appreciating your present life rather than perpetually comparing it to an idealized hypothetical scenario, which may lead to dissatisfaction. Acknowledging that someone is always going to be more successful or attractive is pointless if it drains joy from your current state. Instead of focusing on what's lacking, celebrate and appreciate being yourself. Comparing yourself quantitatively might be easy, but most things in life are unique experiences that can't be measured. When you rank yourself against others, you disregard the value of individuality.
By comparing, you encourage jealousy and resentment.
Instead, celebrate others' achievements, seek their advice, and learn from them.
This could inspire you to become the best version of yourself, rather than just passively envying others.
The woman in this scenario should first explore the underlying causes of her self-doubt and the urge to compare herself to others. She may uncover that societal pressures and early conditioning led her to prioritize physical appearance, status, and achievement. Moreover, she might discover a straightforward truth. Excessive social media usage negatively impacts her mental well-being. She can approach her social media habits with empathy, acknowledging her occasional excessive use while simultaneously exploring and addressing any underlying beliefs of low self-worth that might contribute to this behavior. By doing so, she cultivates self-compassion and fosters a deeper understanding of herself. As the next step, she may develop mindfulness towards negative thoughts and emotions as they arise, and actively work to dispel them. One such approach is to habitually acknowledge and redirect her focus when feeling discontent with life by jotting down 3 positive aspects in a gratitude journal. When plagued by self-doubt, she could refer to a list of her known strengths and recite it to herself for reassurance. She can internalize the affirmation, "I am enough," by associating it with a sense of self-acceptance rather than just reciting the phrase mechanically. Alternatively, she can disconnect from digital distractions and engage in physical activity like walking while reflecting on her core principles and long-term goals. As time passes, she'll likely overcome self-doubt, and the habit of comparing herself to others will fade. Recognizing it's normal to admire others, she decides to channel these feelings into self-reflection. Are there personal aspirations she's been neglecting? What does her envy reveal about her life's purpose? Rather than drowning in shame or self-loathing, can she discover ways to express her individuality and let her unique light shine brighter? By cultivating awareness and deliberate intention, one can shift from self-doubt and comparisons to a more empowered state. This intentional mindset is a catalyst for living a fulfilling life, as purposeful actions guided by personal values create a positive feedback loop of confidence and self-assurance. The more we act in alignment with our core principles, the more we strengthen our sense of self and perpetuate a cycle of growth and accomplishment. This woman would benefit from disconnecting from her phone and engaging in self-reflection to identify her life goals. By taking proactive steps towards those objectives, she'll enhance her self-worth and develop a stronger sense of personal control. As a result, her concern for others' activities will naturally dwindle, and instead of passively observing the lives of others through social media, she'll be actively shaping her own, fostering genuine contentment. Reframe self-questioning for empowered belief in oneself. Discover actionable strategies to reduce self-doubt and cultivate unwavering confidence, leading to a stronger sense of personal conviction. Presenting oneself well is not a cure-all for low self-esteem, yet it does send a subtle message to one's subconscious worthiness of effort. By investing in appearance through grooming, stylish attire, and pleasant fragrances, and exuding confidence with upright posture, one conveys value to the self. Neglecting personal presentation implies a lack of importance, which can be misinterpreted by others. Initially, it may seem vain, but as one pays attention to their outward appearance, they'll notice its positive impact on self-esteem and confidence. Moreover, when individuals demonstrate self-worth through their appearance, others are more likely to treat them with the respect and importance they deserve. Influence your thoughts with constructive biases by focusing on positive interpretations of events. A genuine smile can foster kindness, while adopting an optimistic outlook can lead to genuine belief and actions that align with it. Your mother's advice to only share good things is rooted in wisdom. Monitor your language, eliminating harsh words, criticism, and negativity. Replace can't
with won't.
or reframe challenges as opportunities for growth. Remember that your mind operates like a computer program.
Feed it positive inputs, and it will produce positivity in return.
Even in adversity, there's always a silver lining waiting to be uncovered. Take a step back and adopt a measured approach. Enunciate calmly and give yourself time to reflect, as this will not only foster greater self-assurance, but also convey a sense of reliability to others. Don't strive for monumental transformations at once. Instead, implement one minor adjustment and maintain it over the long term before introducing another. Consistency is key. Pursuing small, achievable objectives that accumulate gradually can be more effective, sustainable, and surprising in its impact than attempting drastic changes all at once. A focus on cultivating manageable daily habits, incremental progress often compounds faster than anticipated. Chapter 5. Behavioral Experiments. This chapter teaches you how to empirically challenge your assumptions, biases, and misconceptions through behavioral experiments. This is an essential part of self-directed cognitive behavioral therapy. You've already learned about cognitive distortions and core beliefs, but this approach gets around your own mental biases by setting up experiments that yield accurate conclusions. Conducting such experiments requires honesty, openness, and a willingness to adjust your perception based on evidence. Mental models can lead you to filter out information that contradicts your views and distorts the rest to preserve those beliefs. However, you have the power to challenge these models. A common example is imposter syndrome, where someone's belief in their own unworthiness filters everything they perceive, making them unable to accept praise or achievement. By conducting behavioral experiments, you put your beliefs to the test and commit to holding only views supported by reality. This liberating process helps you develop more rational and logical beliefs instead of those based on superstition, habit, fear, or assumption. To test your own cognitive hypotheses, adopt a scientific mindset. A hypothesis is a speculative idea or prediction about future outcomes or explanations. While these ideas may seem like ungrounded mind reading or fortune telling, they can be tested using the scientific method. This involves posing a hypothesis, designing an experiment, collecting data, interpreting results, and then determining whether to reject or support it. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, but all experiments follow this basic pattern of testing. Next time a hypothesis pops into your mind, you'll be well equipped to challenge it effectively because you've already tested its validity. Crucial is maintaining a curious, neutral, and inquisitive attitude, free from self-criticism or blame when testing hypotheses. Begin by pinpointing a specific assumption or expectation you'd like to investigate. Write it down as a concise statement, keeping an eye out for potential thought distortions. Some examples might include, "I'm too embarrassed to enroll in that dance class because I fear the others will ridicule me. My colleagues at work universally pity me. If I were to reveal my genuine emotions to others, I'd inevitably lose their respect." These statements may contain cognitive biases that could be explored further. Step 2. Evaluate the intensity of your conviction. Measure your conviction regarding the previously stated notion on a scale from 1 to 10. It's also beneficial to distinguish between your logical and emotional convictions. For instance, intellectually, you might understand that people aren't plotting against you. However, emotionally, it may still feel as though they are at times. Step 3. Design your experiment. Unleash your creativity. Here are 3 ideas to get started. 1. Conduct an anonymous survey. If you're concerned about your appearance, post a photo of yourself and ask for honest opinions from strangers on online forums. 2. Test your hypothesis in real-life situations. For instance, if you think people will laugh at you in a dance class, join the class and observe the reaction. Be brave, but also truthful, avoiding self-doubt or seeking evidence to prove your initial assumption. Alternatively, take a smaller step towards desensitization by trying an online version of the activity, such as a Zoom dance class where attention is less focused on you. This approach can help build confidence before tackling the bigger experiment. To validate a theory, it's often essential to reverse course on an action you believe is crucial. A prime example is the notion that constant supervision of others leads to mistakes. To prove or disprove this idea, one must demonstrate self-restraint and refrain from micromanaging, then observe if actual errors occur. This approach requires a degree of courage, as it involves going against your initial instinct. In step 4, anticipate and prepare for potential roadblocks in your experiment success. Tailor your approach according to your goals by seeking guidance, advice, or support from others, whether it's friends, family, professionals, or even a therapist. Prioritize setting up the optimal conditions, being mindful of potential hazards, inappropriateness, or negative outcomes that could compromise the experiment's integrity and success. Step 5. Conduct the experiment and document findings. Perform the experiment design earlier and record the results objectively, aiming for concrete data if possible. This helps counter potential biases, as numerical facts are challenging to dispute. Compare the experimental outcomes with the original hypothesis, acknowledging that confirmation is unlikely. Instead, you may need to revise your prediction based on the findings. Reframe any distorted beliefs using the gathered data. For example, "I'll fail in public speaking" becomes most audience members don't focus on individual speakers, they engage in conversations. Reflect on the rating given to your hypothesis in step 2 and assess how it has changed after conducting the experiment. In most cases, the rating won't suddenly drop to 0, but you will likely have a more realistic understanding of the situation following the experiment. It's likely that your initial resistance to behavioral experiments stems from fear of validation or embarrassment. However, this fear often arises from an overestimation of the significance of a particular aspect of yourself. Recognize that our perceptions are a blend of fact and fiction, and even if some facts may not align with our desires, they don't dictate our overall happiness or success. Behavioral experiments aren't meant to be self-reassuring, but rather to help you anchor in reality and gain clarity by reducing the impact of biases, expectations, assumptions, and interpretations. The specific outcome is inconsequential. The goal is a clear understanding of yourself and your world. For example, if an experiment reveals that your nose isn't perfect, it doesn't mean you're unattractive or incapable of living a fulfilling life. You can shift from a limiting belief to a more mature one. "I may not have the most attractive nose, but my appearance is just one aspect of who I am, and there are many other wonderful qualities that define me."